Okay, we are live. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined this evening by my co-host, Mr. Darren Guy. And Darren, I see that we have a special guest tonight, Miss Dana. Miss Dana, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Who is in the picture with you?
This is my daughter, Selene.
Is
Hello.
she an adult or a minor?
She's an adult.
She's over 18.
Yes.
She doesn't have
She
an
looks like
open
she's
C-
no,
She doesn't have an open CPS case, does she?
no, sir.
Okay, perfect. So where are you calling in from?
We're from Okima, Oklahoma.
Okima, Oklahoma. How far is that from OKC?
We are about maybe an hour and 30 minutes away.
Oh, really? Oh, very good.
Mhm.
You know, I have some distant relatives who moved to Oklahoma and opened up a business, um, and I understand they're doing quite well.
Really?
It's the marijuana business. Apparently, Oklahoma a couple of years ago maybe opened up became legal to grow and sell, and in Oklahoma, and they decided to move there and to grow and sell. And I
Getting
think
high on Oklahoma.
they have like a grow farm, not very big, but they have a grow farm, and they also have a dispensary.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Is
There's a
Oklahoma
lot.
they're really
is
working.
Oklahoma do they have the full tilt? Is it legal? Do they have the stores, or do you have to have the medical card? They have the full gamut, the whole it's
You
legal
got
for everything.
you got to
100%
have the medical
recreational,
card.
my friend.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
And
recreational.
it's kind of new. I think like only a couple years old. So they
Hmm.
went in there and got in there on the ground floor, and apparently it's working out for them.
They was kind of confused in the beginning because they didn't know which way to go with it,
Right.
but it's
Every
pulling itself together though.
right. Every state has its own, I guess, rules and regulations.
Yes.
And it took them a minute to figure it out, but they applied for a license to grow, and then they applied for a license. I don't maybe to transport, and then applied for a license to be a dispensary.
Are you seeing an influx or a decline in CPS going after people for marijuana? I mean, is this playing a role in this game of CPS?
Mm, no, but when I had caught my federal charge, the marijuana had played a role in it.
Mm.
Um, that's what CPS, well, that was their end ground on them when it's pretty much what they based everything on at the end because they really, I mean, my was so messed up. It's unbelievable. I mean, um, the statements that were made, the harassment, the corruption between the amongst the three of them, which is the court, the DHS, and the sheriffs. It was just, I mean, it's in the school.
Do
Um,
you have American Indian ancestry?
yes, sir. I'm Muskogee Creek and half
So
Sioux.
was your case done under the Indian Child Welfare Act?
Creek Nation got involved, but it was like
Hold
they did
on,
nothing.
hold on. Was that a yes or a no?
I can't tell you if it was or not, but Creek Nation was supposed to have been involved. He made
So
an
you
appearance at the court hearing, but
so
I mean,
you realize that that's extremely important, because if the tribe invokes the Indian Child Welfare Act, a whole different set of laws are used that's more favorable to parents. Did you
okay,
know that?
no,
Did you have a lawyer?
yeah, but it was one that they gave. It was a court. She was court appointed, and when I tried to get attain my own attorney, the judge wouldn't allow me. He denied my request for me to have my own attorney, to hire my own attorney. The
Well,
attorney
did
that
your
they
hold
go
on?
ahead.
Did your attorney that you wanted to hire meet the qualifications to practice juvenile dependency law or CPS law in Oklahoma?
Yes, sir, he did. George Nels. Well, yes, he did.
Okay, so
That's
in my opinion, I don't think the judge can just stop you from hiring your own attorney. It's kind of a constitutional right type of thing. Maybe it was at the time, there was a trial coming up or in the middle of a trial. I could see the judge saying, "No, you can't bring in that private attorney at the moment." But I don't think the judge can just blanket say, "No, you can't bring in a private attorney."
honestly, they only had it was just a very few court hearings that they did give me. And when I did not agree with the attorney that they court appointed me, I didn't agree with her strategy or the how she was trying to go about it. I honestly didn't feel like she was for me because she was always in the same circle with all of them. They all work in the same circle. So I didn't feel like I was going to have a fair chance in the beginning. I really wanted somebody outside of the county to be, I guess, someone who can look into the case to see where it's not holding together or the charges that the accusations that they had against me. Um, I just wanted somebody from the outside to look in, and the judge wasn't having it. The DA went tooth and nail for what she wanted. I mean, it was just like, and time was running for me because I had my other case that just came up that I had just caught.
Well, let's go. Let's start this thing from the beginning. Then let's see what caused all of this. What's the beginning of your story here?
Okay, I have my oldest daughter. I have 5 children. My oldest daughter is cerebral palsy, and she's in a wheelchair. She's deaf. Um, they go to school. They went to school here. They're older now. She's 22 now. But the school started complaining about my daughter and the intake that she would, because she didn't eat whole foods and she did not have a um, feeding tube. She was drinking Pediasure with fiber. That's what she has been on. Her doctor had, I mean, her doctor stood with me whenever I was going around with the school because they wanted to lower her intake from it. But that was her only source of food. I mean, she drank like from bottled water or a can of Pepsi. And other than that, she wouldn't take anything but the Pediasure. So the school starts like pushing for me to lower her intake from that. And I told them no, because that is what her doctor, her pediatrician had her on. Well, they did the ISP, or they did a evaluation, and well, amongst themselves, they wanted to lower her intake, and I disagreed with them because I mean her pediatrician was the one who had her like that, who had her put on it like that, and I didn't think that they were doctors to make that decision or to even call anything on that. So it started because of that. Well, things got progressed because I said, if you do not give it to her, then I will give it to her and I will come to the school to give it to her myself, or we'll figure out a way to do it. They didn't like that either. Well, one day my daughter's legs were her from her waist down, her legs at the knees contracted. That was from the cerebral palsy. Well, when I went to get her up that next morning, she was crying and she was holding her legs, and I was like, "What's wrong with this child?" So I ended up calling her pediatrician, and I took her there. When I took her there, Dr. Burns, I'm sorry, the pediatrician, she did her checkup on her and everything, and she said, I believe it could be the hamstrings. That she may have strained them or something of that sort. She said, but we can't do an X-ray or anything because it's really not going to show. And she said she's not in that much pain to where it needs to be like casted or just something significant like that. So I said, okay. And I never said nothing to the school. Only thing I said was something, she's hurting in her legs. I said, we're not sure from what it is, but her pediatrician, I told him what she said. And well, they're still going on and on with me about her milk, about the Pediasure with fiber. And one day I just happened to pop up there and I took a case of milk and I took a bag of briefs up there for her and the wipes. Well, I heard Angelina crying when I was coming down the hall. Excuse me. When I heard her cry, I knew that either she didn't get her way, or she was throwing a fit, or I don't know what it was. But when I got to the door, um, my cousin was with me. We were standing at the door, and I was looking in that little window from the door, and I see her tell Angelina, no. She just went like this to her because she's deaf. But Angelina wanted to play on the computer. So Angelina kind of just threw herself around in the chair and then she ended up just flopping on the floor. So she's throwing a fit because she wanted to play on the computer. So she starts scooting herself up, and I'm standing in the door watching this. She scoots herself up into underneath the table, and you can see the teacher like trying to tell her no, no, and like I couldn't really see what she was telling her, but Angelina wasn't paying attention. She was just crying and screaming her head off because she wanted to play on the computer. And then all of a sudden, I see her stand up and she bent down and she grabbed my daughter by the ankles and she pulled. And that just, it triggered something in me. And she did not hear me come through that door. And when she pulled my daughter by the legs, I snatched her by the back of her shirt. That was where I was wrong to do. But I mean, it was a reaction that just got the best of me.
Mhm.
Um, they ended up having the police come out, and nothing was ever found of it. Like I don't. It was just like they just swept that under the rug, and I was talking to the doctor about it, and I didn't even get home to talk to my mom about what I was talking to the doctor about and everything. All of a sudden, Angelina's home with the bus, but they said that there was something wrong with her seatbelt. Well, she's in a wheelchair and she has to have the seatbelt to ride the bus or to get on the little escalator thing that they use to take her down the steps. She has to have a seatbelt and it's just mandatory for her wheelchair. And her seatbelt was cut. Well, now they're saying she can't go to school, she can't ride the bus, and she can't come to school because you have to take her on that little elevator thing, the little escalator that they transported her from the stairs down to the bottom of the stairs in because she didn't have a seatbelt. And that's where it began. Like she missed 3 days of school. I thought I would be able to get her seatbelt here in town, but this town is so small they don't really have very many things like that. I mean, they had daily medical, and I didn't know that then, but I was talking to the insurance people. They were supposed to mail one, and her doctor ended up getting her a seatbelt. But by the time that already came, these people did not tell me that they were calling DHS, that I neglected my daughter from going to school, and they just took her from the school and shipped her off from there. And that's when the DHS came to the house and said that Angelina was taken by the DHS because of my neglect and abuse of her.
How
I
many children? How many children do you have?
I have 5.
And They only took one child?
That was in the beginning. Okay, whenever they started they DHS, we went to court, and because I was flipping out. I was just like losing my mind. What I know now, had I known then, I probably would have been a little more sane, but I really wasn't. I I made myself look like a fool, but in the long run, I ended up making the situation worse because I'm over here just stressing about where my child is and why and we went, they gave me classes to do. Now this is the only charge they had against me was her not going to school and neglect on her for not having her seatbelt. Those were the charges that they originally had. That's what they used against me in the beginning.
It doesn't sound like you would lose your kid because of those charges.
I can't. This is hard for me to talk about,
Of course.
but that is what happened. I did everything they did ask me to do on their little PSI plan, or the plan that the DHS gives you. And I did everything they asked me to do except for I had one more class of for the parenting, and I was going right here in town to the facility that they had right here, and then I had surgery on my knee. Well, I missed that one class, and the counselor had wrote a letter to the judge and said, because I missed it, it wasn't, I didn't know that she wasn't going to be there that day. I assumed that I missed it because I had the surgery, but she already then canceled the class before I knew that. But she said that she wrote a letter to the judge saying that we were going to make it up. But the DA and the DHS was, I don't know what the real deal with them two were, because one of the DHS workers, when they would show up, she was cordial. She wasn't, I mean, she didn't have an attitude, but then the other one that would come with her would be just ugly and hateful. And everything they would ask, they turned around and made something else up. There was falsified statements that they made. The police harassed me because they said that they were looking for something. What they were looking for, I don't know. At that point in time, they did not know about my federal indictment.
Indictment for what?
Marijuana. I don't even like marijuana, but that's what I had gotten my federal indictment for.
Were you
But they
prosecuted?
did not. Go ahead.
Were you prosecuted?
Yes,
Did you win or lose?
I lost.
Were you sentenced to jail?
Yes, I went to federal prison.
For how long?
I did 5 years.
All was this before the CPS case or during the CPS case?
I had that case. I think it was before the CPS case. I think it was before the CPS case.
Okay, so you got out and then you had a CPS case.
Yeah, but
Okay.
my CPS case and my federal indictment. Well, my it was just it was charges for Texas. It didn't go federal up until when the CPS case came into play. When it came into play, that's when Texas dropped the charges and the feds had picked it up.
Okay.
So,
But what I'm asking you is very specific.
okay.
Did the CPS case and the federal case, criminal case, ever overlap? Yes, no, I don't know.
Towards the end of my where before I got locked up, yes. They overlapped like right after they came back in to take the rest of my kids.
Okay. I'm still a little confused. Darren, can you help me?
So the way I see it is that she had the dealings with her first daughter, and then along comes her indictment at the tail end or right around there, or they didn't know about their charges that she was already had going on. And then at the tail end there, they said, whoa, 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 we've got this deal, but she was at the end of it, so she went to jail. So everything was kind of in limbo, right? At that point now with your children, is that the deal? Because you went and had to do your jail sentence.
The day that they were up to the day of the year, because it was almost a year that they had my daughter, the day before they came to remove the rest of my kids.
Now you were in jail
And
or after you were out of jail?
I didn't go to jail. I was only in jail before, from when I first caught my those charges, because it
Yep.
wasn't federal yet, it was state. It was for the state of Texas, and I was only in jail for like 7, 8 hours, and then I was
Okay.
on bond up until I caught that, until the DHS stepped in and involved themselves, and I was already going through a whole year, and I was about they said I was about to get her back, but I mean, the day before that year mark came, I still have not went to jail, other than when I initially got
Right.
the charge. They removed the rest of my kids from the house.
Did
And
you did you get all your kids back eventually?
I got 4 of them.
What happened to the fifth?
That's the one we're talking about, the oldest one. That's the one they won't give me. They did not give me a reason as to why they wouldn't give her to me. They
Where
came
is
up
she
with
right now? Where is she right now?
in a foster home,
Is that Adriana?
Rights
Angelina.
as to that
Angelina,
child?
I mean?
Darren, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah. Do you hear me?
Hmm.
Hello?
I'm here.
I'm here. Where did I go?
Oh, so I asked, do you still have your parental rights on that child?
No, they took them.
And how old is the child?
She's 22 now, but she's still with the DHS. I'm not sure how they're doing this now, because I mean she is disabled with um she's deaf and she's still in a wheelchair.
Okay, well,
I'm not
if she's 22, I mean, if the case were in California, case would be over unless the foster parents adopted the child, but the case would still be over.
No, she can be. My mother's sitting here listening to this, and she's saying that they said that she cannot be adopted out. They
Okay.
adopted her, but they said that I really don't know where that went right there, because they made it to where I could not be around my mother, but they did not take my parental rights. I was in prison when I was fighting for those for all of my children, and they didn't take my parental rights, but it's just everything that they were doing and everything was so messed up. Like, nothing to me made sense on anything of their part, maybe because I was just out of my mind, or because I just could not control myself to stop and think, but it was happening so fast. It was like they was just trying to hurry up and just take her and leave the rest. Is how I felt that it
Well,
happened.
because they get a lot of funding for her. She's medically needed, so there's extra money in this case for her.
Now my tribe, he just he was like a bench holder. He just sat there holding the bench up. Not once did he ever say anything, or when the judge would ask him if he had anything to say, no,
So
he never.
is this still an option? Is she considered because she's handicapped? Is that the reason that this is still in play? Like, does she need to have someone watch over her all the time? She needs to have a guardian or something. Is that what's going on here?
Yes.
So for the rest of her life, she's got to be a ward of somebody to make sure that she's okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Davis, how does CPS handle these situations as far as adopting minor children that turn into adulthood and so forth? Is there the parents stay the parents for the rest of their lives? If they're adopted, are they like regular? Not that they're not regular people, but are they normal? Like they're a certain age, they get to make decisions somewhat on their own. What goes on? And I know in California is what will have to be based, but overall, like I think that's what we're getting at here is she's looking to see where this road could lead her to get her daughter back home.
Okay. I don't know what it's like in Oklahoma. Okay. Not licensed there. But in California, once the child turns 21, CPS can't be involved anymore. Another county or state agency they can transfer the case to another type of agency, but not CPS. Now, if the child has been adopted, that child is legally the child of the adoptive parents, and that the birth parents are no longer related. The birth siblings are no longer related. The birth relatives are no longer related. That's the asinine part of this whole thing about kids getting adopted. You get adopted because your parents allegedly screwed up, but then everybody in the family loses the child. And especially the siblings who had nothing to do with this, they lose a sibling. There's talk in states like Minnesota to change that, but that's pretty much the law everywhere you go. So I don't know, absent a federal lawsuit alleging some type of violation of civil rights, if you can do anything about getting this child back. Look, you're not going to get the child through the state court system.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay. The
Mhm.
state court has ruled for better or worse, right or wrong, and you're stuck with that. That's unless you won on appeal, you can't do anything. But remember that our founding fathers made the federal justice system as well. So when you are aggrieved wrongfully by the state actors, a la the state court, you can go to federal court and seek remedies and protection. Okay. That's one of the original reasons why we have a federal judicial system. If the states were screwing their citizens, go to federal court, we'll protect you. So I don't know enough about your case. Obviously, we just met. I haven't reviewed anything, but I don't know if you've talked to a civil rights lawyer in Oklahoma. Here's something, just as an aside, this is kind of a side topic. Did you know that in Oklahoma is one of the few states, I think there are like 5 or 6 states, that allow you to have a jury trial in a CPS case? And if you did know that, did you have a jury trial? Because
They
this
also
is
jury trial or um judgment by judge. And my attorney said the court appointed attorney that they gave me said it's in my best interest to go by the judge because it's one person's versus 12, and I didn't know anything about any of this. I didn't know anything about what I know now. I did not know nothing about then.
so for all you folks in Oklahoma, I've talked to several people in the past, in the recent past. I think my Google algorithm is finding people in Oklahoma because a lot more people are calling me about Oklahoma. The general rule is if you have the opportunity to have a jury trial, you should take the jury trial. Now,
Mm.
here's the okey doke that's sometimes given to you. Miss Dana, it'd be in your best interest to have a judge trial, not a jury trial. I consider that, unless there's a really good reason, um, bad advice. Now, I don't know about every case, and I could see some cases that I would try to be in front of a judge, not a jury. But for the most part, you want a jury because the state has the burden of proof. They have
Mm.
to prove a certain thing. And I don't know if in Oklahoma if they have to prove 12 out of 12 or 10 out of 12 or 6 out of 12, but they got to convince more than one person. When you have a judge trial, you only have to convince the judge. That's what the
Which
state has
makes
to do, the judge. And the judges are usually kind of sophisticated. They know the law, but the problem is they hear these cases day in and day out. And sometimes, I get the feeling, that they believe what they're doing and they're protecting children. They believe, but they're going through, you know, um, the process. All of these families that come before them are all different, and the way they do the hearing. Here's something. I'll tell you something. I was doing a few weeks ago what's called a detention hearing. Um, they That's the first hearing in a dependency case, and the court asked me what I was going to do with respect to this case at the detention hearing. And when I mentioned to the judge what I wanted to do, the judge kind of had for just a split second, an agitated look on the judge's face. You know, and I've talked to you about this, about active listening.
Mhm.
We as human beings, when we watch and listen things, you can kind of tell how people are leaning, right? And I made some arguments, and to be honest with you, the judge made a decision that I thought was well reasoned. Okay, but I just got the feeling that it was well reasoned because that's the way we do things in our judicial system. So if you ever have the opportunity to have a jury trial, you should really talk to your attorney about having that jury trial. What you have in Oklahoma is a right that people in California only wish they had,
And in Maine.
only wish they had.
Yep.
And I know that sometimes lawyers talk you out of it because they think it's a really good strategy, or because maybe they don't want to do a jury trial. I don't know.
'cause I feel like they were working together. Honestly, I feel like they were all working together
I hear
because
that. I hear that a lot. And let me tell you something. 25 years ago, maybe longer, I was a court appointed attorney. And one of the things I had learned this in college. Whenever you put people together in any type of social situation, there are going to be relationships involved,
Mhm.
right? And if you work with someone every day, you know, are you the question becomes, are you going to really fight them hard?
Right.
You know,
you you know,
you you guys
I have
work together every day. You have Christmas parties together every day. Every year you go out drinking together. We just hope that they're able to represent
It's
the parents vigorously.
I know I've been I've had a couple of cases ever since I've caught my federal case. And when I was on when I came out, I was on a bad road because I was mad and angry at the world for what my kids went through, what I was still dealing with this girl, and how I felt about these people here. I know some public defenders, even though they worked with, I mean, it's not the same as I seen this case right here versus the other ones that I've met in my time. Because I honestly feel like someone has their good best interest for you, they're going to fight for you all the way, regardless if they're working in the same building. They're going to do what's they're going to try to do everything they can to help you, because
Right,
I've seen that happen. I've
right.
experienced that happen
You
because
you
I
probably you probably experienced that with federal public defenders in your criminal case.
no, it's a state case, but
where did your kids go while you were in jail? What happened with them there? Your 5 years of
DHS
your
kept
absence,
them.
where did the children go?
DHS kept them for um about 7 more months, 6 months after I got locked up. And then finally, my mother was able to get them because my mother was pushing for them, all of them. Like, they didn't only just take my kids, they took my nieces and my nephew too. I mean, they took all the kids in the
Okay.
house.
And your tribe didn't get involved in this.
Like I said, he was holding up the bench.
Have you
He
talked
never
to the
said
American
nothing.
with disabilities?
Huh?
Have you talked to the Americans with disabilities?
I didn't. Back then, I didn't know anything about anything.
Okay,
I
but
mean,
right now, what I'm saying, have you talked to the American with disabilities, though? You should
you're
probably
the
find that
first
number
people
for
that I've
Oklahoma.
actually,
Yeah,
I've actually just talked to. Like, I get so
of course.
winded up with everything that's going on, and everything's just passing by my head, and I just I get stuck.
So
And I
you
mean,
watch this show, right? You watch this show.
you know,
Listen,
I
Mr.
mean, when it
Davis,
popped up,
we've been pounding this week for some reason, and I think this works for you. Slow down, right? Did you hear the other day? Do you know how you eat an elephant?
mm, nope,
One bite at a
Yeah,
time.
you haven't been watching the show.
I don't remember about no
But
elephants.
no, it's
I
Wait, Dana, think about this. Think about this. Slow down, slow your brain down, take a few deep breaths, clear your mind. The question is, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. Okay? So, one of the tenets of, say, any 12-step program, it's one day at a time,
hmm
right?
yes,
Life is one day at a time. Okay. If you have a problem you want to solve, a CPS problem, you got to take it one day at a time. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I saw a video a couple days ago where it explained very succinctly the differences between men and women. So men try to think logically about something. Women think emotionally about
I
most
heard you
things.
say that yesterday.
Yeah. So you're being very emotional. And I get it. This is your child. I get it.
Yes,
But you got to slow it down and rein it in so that you can win. You got to win. And there's only one thing that you're going to be able to win. You know, if you slow it down and you take it one step at a time. Listen, in this system, you're probably dealing with 95% men, right? Your judge is a social worker, your attorneys are a social worker. Sometimes you got a male social worker. Okay. It you know, it's kind of, I hate to say this, a man's world. Now, do you think they are going to adapt to deal with you, or you have to adapt to deal with them? You have to
I know I
know
gotta adapt to deal with them.
you have to know your audience and who you're dealing with. You have to know that audience, and you have to adjust. Okay? You can't win by making them see your side. That's not going to happen
right. They
ever.
don't
Yeah, I
even
know
really
that.
care, right?
Okay?
I
I
know
talk to
that.
people, I talk to parents like that every day. Okay? So, what I would suggest that you do is that you find a civil rights attorney and you talk to him or her about, maybe you have a civil rights case that you can take to federal court and get somewhere. Okay? Because right now, whatever you're doing, it's not working. Right? And the insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Mhm.
Let's change it up. Let's try a civil rights attorney and see what they can do. Now, here's the thing. You're going to talk to most people, most attorneys, and they're going to say, no, I can't help you. But, Winston Churchill said, never, ever give up. Never give up. Because there's going to be that one attorney that's going to say, you know what, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you a quick story of perseverance. And this is actually someone that's a host on our shows. It's a woman. She lost her kids in
I know who you're
CPS,
talking about.
okay, in CPS court. She lost her kids. Her mother, who was stabbing her in the back, was about to adopt her kids. About to adopt her kids. This lady started calling attorneys. Nobody would help her. Nobody. She called my office. I was like 50 plus calls. Not 50 calls is a lot of calls. And it's a lot to keep taking no. She called our office, didn't speak to me, but unbeknownst to me, somebody at my office made an appointment for her to come in and see me. Okay. I talked to her, and something in my head just said, if I don't help her, she's definitely not getting her kids back. Not a chance. And I just decided, it was that right day, right time of day, and I decided to help her. Within 3 or 4 months, she had her kids back. Had her kids back. 3 or 4 months later, the case was closed. About a year later, I get a copy of a newspaper article where the grandmother who was going to adopt the kids trashed me like you wouldn't believe. And actually had the newspaper guy believing that the judge did wrong, that I did wrong, and that the mother was a danger to the children, which she wasn't, and she has her kids today. So you can never give up. We had a lady on, it seems like 6 or 7 months ago, Darren, from San Diego. She lost her child and her parental rights. 5 years goes by. She gets her child back and they reinstate her parental rights in court. Now, does that always happen? No. It's a rare occurrence. But I think it's rare not only because the way the laws are written, but I think it's rare because when it happens, most people give up.
Mm-hmm.
They give up. And, they move on with their life.
No.
Yeah, I know. I don't get
I
that from
can't
you.
do that.
Right.
I'll be stuck.
I don't get that from you, but listen to this. You can't do it by yourself. That's why I'm saying interview some civil rights attorneys in your state. You have to. You can't do it by yourself.
You're definitely strong enough to do this. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt in my mind that you're a firecracker. But like Mr. Davis says, start calling, try to find the civil attorney. Make a list, make a list, and conquer that one task, that one thing a day. Start with little victories. Get yourself, because at this point you have no victories. You came out of jail as a raging machine looking for your children. Mama Bear's home. Where are they? Give them back, like that. And, and they left one behind and you're not willing to accept that. And I wouldn't either. That is your child. You're damn right. You go get that girl. But one thing at a time. I know, just like you, some days are very hard for me too. I've got 20,000 things involved in this. Like, do I email this person? Do I contact this person? There's so many people involved in our cases, and it gets overwhelming. You're writing an email to this person and all of a sudden you're on the phone with this person. And then before you know it, it's 4:30 and you didn't get the email done. You didn't talk to this person. You didn't do this. And again, you just lost a whole day because you haven't focused. You haven't. And until he said that the other day, I'm just like you. I've got my guns blazing and I got nothing done again. It's one thing at a time. Get a little victory under your belt, and it feels great. Even if it's just getting a phone call back from one of your letters. Take little tiny steps. You'll get there because you're not going to let it go. So know that and have faith that you are going to get your child back. Right, wrong, indifferent. You're getting that baby back. But you got to just focus, take your time, take the little steps, and get the little victories. You will win.
Hey, Dana,
Yes, sir.
we're coming to the end of the show. I do want to say something to you. I want to thank you for calling in or appearing today on the live stream and sharing your story. I know it's difficult, it hurts, it's hard, but hopefully, it's cathartic for you, and hopefully people watching, relate to you or learn something from your story. Okay?
Yep.
I got a
Thank
question
you very
for you.
much.
I haven't asked this question in a long time. We're in the process of trying to organize voters from state to state. And we're starting off with captains for each state. Okay. Would you like to be the captain for Oklahoma?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Grace, our producer, is listening. She's going to be contacting you. And one of the
Okay.
things that we're going to do is we're going to show you how you can organize people just on the internet. Okay. And
Right.
get people to start voting for judges or legislators who are friendly to the family, that can change some type of laws that we have. This law that we have about you terminating your parental rights, that came about like early 1990, I think. It is not, it hasn't been here since the beginning of time. And they changed the law to save money. But, we can change that law back or make a new law. Okay? So that's what
Yep.
we're aiming to do. And we have to do it step by step.
Okay.
All right?
All
Hey,
right.
Dana, Grace will be calling you. Thank you again for being on the show. And I hope to be seeing you soon and working with you soon. Okay?
All righty.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Well,
much.
Dana,
Thank
go
you.
get that girl. God, just boils your blood, doesn't it?
You know what's really amazing to me? That we hear the same stories from all over the country. It could be California, it could be New York, it could be Florida, it could be, Illinois, Washington, Oklahoma, Texas. I hear the same story, the exact same story.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, you start scratching your head thinking, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the system.
No, it's doing
It-
what it's supposed to.
well, you're probably right. You're probably right. We just have to change it. And the only way we can change that is through voting and electing the right political
Right.
officials to change the laws.
What's the difference between when you started 30 something years ago to what you're hearing now? Like, how different are these cases? Because, there's been a lot of things and changes put into place. Like you just said, the parental rights thing wasn't until 1990. So, which I guess that was 30 years ago. Holy smokes. I still think 1990 was like last week. So I really, I'm having a problem with this age thing. Oh boy. Anyway,
you know what?
like,
You know what? If I'm going to be on tomorrow night or maybe Saturday, we need to address this question that Mike Bartz is asking. Mike, you're absolutely right. When? We've been talking too much about it. Let's
yeah,
have a show on how to organize, get people signed up so we can have captains, and then drill down and
Yep.
let's start getting people
Hammer time.
together and voting. Okay? Maybe we can make an impact. Maybe we can have an impact in November.
We will.
In
We
the different
will.
states. Okay, sir.
clock's ticking.
All right. So I will know tomorrow, early on, and if we don't do it tomorrow, we'll do it Saturday morning, and we'll start organizing people. Maybe we should just set aside every week one day
Yeah, for
to
this. Yep,
for the movement.
I like it.
For the movement, one day a week. Grace, what do you think about that? We set aside one day a week for the movement, organizing the movement. Because I think, I think there are over 1 billion people on Facebook now, and
Right.
including YouTube. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
Alexa,
for
what's
the
1% of 1 billion?
1% of 1 billion is 10 million.
See, if we could just get 1% of 1 billion to get on our side.
yeah,
You
you'll
know?
be electing congressmen and senators and
Yep.
presidents and state legislators and judges.
Yep.
So let's do it.
All right.
Okay. One last comment. I am shocked how many people have a similar story. I have 14 years with the grace of God. He led me
To you.
to you, I guess. I met with someone today, and they wanted me to represent them. And I said, how did you find out about me? You know what they said? Someone sent me, I guess a friend or a family member, sent me one of your videos. And I just started watching your videos, and I kept thinking, she said, why didn't anybody ever tell me this before?
Do you know how many people know your name?
I was in court today. I got asked twice for an autograph.
Autograph or signature? Which one?
Autograph. One of the guys who I didn't really remember said, Hey man, I talked to you last year. I've been watching your videos.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, did you like and subscribe?
Yeah.
All right.
Did he?
He never answered the question.
So yeah, make sure you like and subscribe too. That way you can monitor how much. Make
It
sure that
helps
we're
me-
making an effect on people here.
It helps me with the Google algorithm. All right, folks. Thank you for watching. Mr. Goliath, thank you. And
Yes,
we'll see
sir.
everyone tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard. Good night.
All right. Good night.